Okay, welcome to Torah for the Nations, B'nai Noah Connection with Israel, coming to you live from Shabbat. This is Pesach Sherbo, and it is the 20th of the 12th month of December 2020. Thank you for being with us. We are live from Shabbat, 10 o'clock every Sunday evening. We're here. It's coming down now through YouTube. I'm asking you to go down to the right-hand corner and subscribe to the channel so you get notifications. Just go hit that little red symbol down there and subscribe. We're trying to get up to 1,000 viewers so that we can get a lot more neat things for the for our YouTube channel. So you guys can, I don't know, they give you all kinds of new stuff. Anyway, here we go, and here I am now on camera, and we thank you so much for joining us. You can join our Zoom room. All you have to do is go to my channel or my Facebook page or Torah for the Nations page or B'nai Noah Connection with Israel. Click on the Zoom room and you can come right in and join us. We have in the Zoom room today, I'm going to have to get another computer set up for all this switching around I got to do. Let's go gallery view. There we go. We got Terry Hayes, co-host, Scotty Helton, co-host, the Tennesseans. And we have in the room right now with us, James Bakunis, I think it is, and Karen Ori. And I'm sure other people will be around shortly, be around to join us. And we're going to go back to the speaker view. There we go. Thank you for being with us. We really, really appreciate it. And we're going to start off talking about a little news and talking about some general things and the Torah portion this week, which is very relevant to what's going on in the world today. So welcome, welcome. And we were just talking in the pre-show kind of thing where we just get together and chit-chat. We were talking about what's going on with in the world with the coronavirus. And it kind of made me think of what's going on today with, did I share, Scotty? Are we shared? Okay. Did you share it with Torah for the Nations too and B'nai Noah Connection with Israel, or should I go do that? And I guess I ought to share it with my own page.
Yeah, if you can share it. I shared it, but it's only sharing a link. It's not sharing the picture. If you can do the first share for me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, I'll do that right now. Let's see, share. Let's see right now. Is it shared on the Facebook? It doesn't let me, to a page. Okay, I'm going to Torah for the Nations. Posted on Torah for the Nations. Did you get it on my Facebook timeline? Share to a group. B'nai Noah Connection with Israel. Share to Facebook. Okay, it should be shared all around now. If you just want to double check it to see. Okay, good. All righty. We're new to this. We're trying to get it done. It was really great of Dan. He was doing it all for us, and it's confusing a little bit to do all the work and watch all the screens and talk at the same time. But here we go. I know I can do that. I can chew gum and walk at the same time. All right. Lots of stuff going on in the world today. And, today, just to get a little bit personal, I got called in by my HMO I'm going to be 76 in about 3 months. And they do geriatric checks on people every once you hit a certain age, they want to see you about every 6 months and talk to you. And one of the things they talked to me about this week, this time when I was in there, it was this morning my time, or yesterday morning my time. They ask you all kinds of feelings about emotions and about your daily work, what you do daily, and how you feel when you wake up in the morning and all this. And they got it down pretty good, I guess, the HMOs. When people at certain ages, you start to slow down a little bit. Sometimes you get a little discouraged. You try to open a can or a bottle, and you find out what other people are going through their whole lives, where they have to bang it on the floor or hit it with something to get it moving because you lose some of your strength, which can pull you down a little bit. You know, wow, my goodness, what's happening to me and stuff like that. And they talk about how it can go to work into a depression and everything. Now, I wasn't there. I mean, I thought about that stuff, but I wasn't in depression mode. But I could tell by the questions they were asking me that this must be the general mode of older people. In other words, I'm very susceptible to that mode. Once you hit a certain age, you just get up in the morning, you don't have anything to do, you hang around in bed a little bit, you start thinking a little negative. But see, that comes with age, and you have to learn to combat it. But some people get up that day every day that way, especially when they're at home. You got to work from home. You can't get out. The stores in a lot of places are closed. You can't go out and eat, go to a restaurant and sit, and even if you're by yourself, and meet people, talk to people, things like that. We're kind of closed down a little bit in our private lives. It's been that way almost a year now, since last Purim, which is March. And we have to fight it. We have to combat it, each one of us. Scruffy Scrubs, hello. I enjoy watching on on YouTube. Okay. And Paul Garcia, how you doing? Scruffy is Devora, by the way, for those of you that are regulars. And it's something that, and I've talked to people and they talk about it, and I never clicked in my head, because I have something to do every day when I get up. Terry and I were just talking about it. My wife's away for 5 weeks. I got a little bit of a honey-do list. I got stuff I got to get done. And I also have my regular things that I do every day. So I don't wake up in the morning saying, what am I going to do today? Oh my goodness, another day alone. Oh, it's so hard and stuff like that. Or I get on the Facebook and start complaining or doing all that kind of stuff, because I have things to do. But there are people that don't. Now, you may be one of them. But let me tell you that it affects how your attitude about a lot of things. It can make you start thinking negative. When something happens, you even think more negative if a little something goes off tune or something like that. So it's important for us to be aware of what's going on. Why is it important for us to be aware? So that we can, it's like if you're driving too fast down a road and you're going around a curb, you got to slow down or you're going to run off the road. We always have to be aware of what's going on around us. So don't think that it's, oh, poor little me, or don't think, hello, Tony, good to see you. Don't start thinking in that attitude. What you want to do is think, okay, what am I going to do today? What can I do today? Let's see, I can't go and volunteer at the local food kitchen because it's probably closed. I can't do some of the other things I used to do because it's probably closed. Well, look for something you can do. Like, and I can't stress this enough, when you wake up in the morning, go to I'm going to put it up on screen again, the Brit Olam, go to Modeh Ani, the first thing you say when you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed. Reconnect with God. He's there for you. He wants to help you. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. If you made a mistake or you think you've done something wrong, and I'm going to use the word sin. You think you sinned? And the reason I came around to that point was I got a question today. What is sin? What does it mean? And the people I was talking to, everything they do, they look at it to see if it is a sin before God. And it's okay. It's okay to do that. But understand there is no word for sin in Hebrew. When you step out and get out of religion, there's no word for sin. The word that is translated as sin, we call het. Het. It's got a little in it, het. And the word means essentially like an arrow that you fired out of a bow and arrow. You aimed it at a target and you followed that arrow. You aimed the arrow to hit a specific target. There's two ways you can go through life with these arrows. Shalom, Emanuela, good to see you. You can fire your arrow at the target, you know the target, you see it in front of you, and you try to hit it and you miss. What do you do what does a marksman do when he tries to hit something and misses? He goes back and practices till he hits it. And that's why God doesn't hold most of the stuff against us, because he knows we just missed the mark. We really want to do what he wants, but sometimes we miss the mark. Or you can be the kind of archer and human being, fires your arrow, you don't care where it lands. Wherever it goes, you just follow it down the road and paint your bullseye right around it. But, oh yeah, that's what I was shooting at all along, even if it's not on what God wants. Now, that's the negative attitude we can have about it. But as long as we're constantly trying to hit the mark, every time we miss, it's okay. And we have a saying, of course, you all know it, a righteous man falls 7 times. But he also gets back up. He missed the mark. He gets back up. He missed a step. He gets back up and he goes forward. That's what we're supposed to do. It's a natural, okay, don't worry about it thing that happens. Worry about getting back up and getting it right, what you need to do. So one of the questions that came up was, is it a sin to eat different kinds of foods? And no, it's not a sin for a Noahide to eat whatever he wants. It's okay. I mean, there are parts of the world you can't eat anything but what a Jew can eat. Some places it's all shrimp or shellfish, that's what they have there. And they're there so people can eat it and sustain themselves. But if you go in a restaurant, you want to have a nice lobster, or if you're on the Chesapeake Bay and want to have a beautiful Chesapeake Bay blue crab, they're delicious. I've been there, done that. And I've had to choose not to do it anymore, so I'm not missing the mark with God for who he made me to be. But you can do that. You don't have to feel that it's something that you're doing wrong in front of God. Also, to the other side, you do not have to choose to eat the way I have to eat, because God made me to do a certain job and he made you to do a certain job. So you don't have to feel bad about it. And by doing what I have to do doesn't make you a more righteous, more holy, or better person. What makes you righteous and holy before God is doing what he asks you to do, not doing what he asks somebody else to do. When you do what it's like when you're growing up and your mom or dad says, take the trash out. It's your job to take the trash out. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And then your brother or sister goes and takes it out. And they come in and they're going to expect all this praise from the parents. Oh man, look what I did. I took the trash out. Pesach didn't take the trash out, but I took it out. When something like that would happen in my family growing up, my father would look at him and say, but I didn't ask you to take it out. I asked him. In other words, it didn't help you gain points, so to speak, with your parents. They might have tapped you on the head and said, oh, good, you did a good job, but It's not your job. I didn't ask you to do it. I asked Pesach to do it. So it doesn't make your father happy that you did it. He's still focused on, wait a minute, Pesach didn't do it. So you didn't gain anything by doing that particular thing. It's the same exact way. And Terry just put it in, learning that line between Jew and non-Jew is an important lesson. Yes, it is, Terry. You got it right. You got to do your job first. If you work in an office and you're looking for a promotion, and the person at the desk next to you is sloppy, doesn't do their job properly, and you really concentrate on picking up the slack in the office, well, I'm going to do this guy's stuff, and the boss will see it, and I'll get a raise. But he's not looking at that at all. What he's saying is, why isn't the other guy doing what he's supposed to do? You may never get rewarded in the office for staying after and cleaning up some work that needs to be done. A lot of people do it too. They think it's a way for promotion or a raise or something. But the boss is more focused on what is it, why isn't this guy doing the job he's supposed to do? And he's the one that ends up getting fired. You may not end up getting a promotion or anything except the guy, the manager saying, yeah, good job. Why? Because he didn't have to do it. So what you don't do, absolutely, is try to do somebody else's job. God created you for a very specific purpose, and he wants you to do what he created you to do. You can't do any better than that. The word holy in Hebrew means to dedicate to. So if you're dedicated to doing the job that God wants you to do, then you're holy. You've dedicated yourself. That's what Noah was called the righteous in his generation. Why? He dedicated his whole life to building an ark and getting those animals the other side of the flood and carrying the grapevines over and getting set up his vineyard so he could celebrate. Just a joke. I know he didn't do it for celebration. There were other reasons there. So it's important that you understand that as a person. Focus on what God created you to do, but you have to learn what God created you to do first. That you have to learn. And when you learn it, there are many, many teachers out there, I being one of the many. And from me, you're going to hear something. And from Rabbi Goldberg, you're going to hear something. And from Rabbi Dr. Shulman, you're going to hear something. And from Y.Y. Jacobson, you're going to hear something different. But they're not different. They're all focused on what the people that they're talking to and trying to help them do what God wants them to do. I don't know if anybody, y'all, or if you don't know who he is, it might be good to go to Google him and listen to some of his stuff. May his memory be blessed. He recently passed. Jonathan Sacks, Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. I don't know if you say the Lord first, or he was a Lord in England. He was a Sir Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. He served as the chief rabbi of the UK for many, many years. Every time when you go and listen to him, when he talks about the weekly parashah, he talks about it from his point of view of being a rabbi and a peacemaker politician. And it's really neat to listen to, but he's going to give you a different look on it than, say, Dr. Shulman or Rabbi Goldman or Miriam, good to see you. Zachia, good to see you. Watching there on YouTube. He has a point of view that God put him here to do a job. He ended up being the chief rabbi of England from UK for many, many years. And so he looked at things that way. And Terry says Prince Charles gave him a great tribute. Yeah, I didn't hear that. But so he looks at it from his point of view. Dr. Schulman looks at it his point of view. Rabbi Goldberg looks at it in his point of view. Everybody looks at it from their eyes. And every one of them is right in the way they look at it. You don't have to choose sides here. Listen and take in information. Now, some people come and listen to me and what I talk about on a regular basis, but they go to other places also. And some people have started going only to one place to get information from. What you're doing is you're limiting yourself to your knowledge of Torah when you do that. I'm not putting anybody down. What I'm saying is when you listen to 2 or 3 or 4 different people explain the same thing, even though they may sound different, the point at the end is the same. It's Torah. And it's just how you get to that point. And it helps you learn how to be more open in your thinking. It helps you learn how to use the information you're given. You don't have to choose between it. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to do anything with it. It's helping you learn. And it's good to have. And Terry and Scotty do the video podcast on their YouTube channel, which I always forget the name of. I'll have to write it down here. We'll get it later. We'll plug it in later. But they're going at it at a specific point of view to explain it to ears that think a certain way. And you have to do that when you're teaching. You might focus one time on this and one time on that. And you hopefully, if you say it enough times, people will understand what you're saying in some way, shape, or form. And to make yourself to be able to use the Torah, you should know all the different ways from the accepted rabbis that teach. Now, there are some, just like in any group of people, there's some that are way off one way and some that are way off another way. The best thing to do is for you to find what you can listen to, but listen to the others too. Don't listen to them and say, oh, the other one said this, so I'm not going to listen to this guy. There's no reason to do that. You're first of all, you and I are not judges of what they're teaching. They're just giving information. They're not telling you not to think any other way. And that's what we do here. You'll find groups that are a little more strict. I belong to one of the strictest sections of Israel, of Judaism, not the strictest. There's others that are more strict, that interpret things a little different. There are rabbis out there, for instance, that don't recognize the state of Israel because it's not Torah run. Okay, actually they're right, but that's only part of the rightness. Right now, if this is the way it is, it's the way God made it to be right now. In a democratic social environment type of thing. But it does, I believe it does more damage to Jews that think that they don't have to follow Torah in the 613. My opinion. But I still listen to these people talk. I want to know what they're saying. So if somebody asks me a question, or if I have a question in my mind, I can answer the question. And you should do that also. It's important. I mean, it is so important that you learn this attitude of thinking. It's something that they don't teach in the universities in America. They teach now, this is the way you should think, and if you don't teach that way, you're wrong. If you don't think that way, you're wrong. And you get everybody, including astrophysicists, and you get professors of astronomy or chemical professor, whatever the guys that mix up all the chemical stuff. And they're trying to teach people, well, but you don't think this way, then you're wrong. It has nothing to do with chemicals. It has nothing to do with, I forget working in a lab, or it has nothing to do with astrophysics, but you still got to think this way or you're wrong. You see all the time on Facebook, it just blew my mind. On Fox News, there's a headline that says, this monstrous act of a basketball player had everybody upset. I said, I got to read this headline. It was on during a game. You know what he did? He clipped his toenails. I mean, here's a guy out here playing a sport. It's with his feet. I mean, he's running up and down the court and everything. And maybe he just realized, wait a minute, the nails are bothering me right now. He didn't realize it till that happened. So people got upset because he clipped his toenails. I mean, how silly. I mean, is there nothing else to talk about in the world? But this is how people have gotten now. And it's a shame. They want to put everybody down, and everybody's an expert. Anyway, I got off to another subject. Let's not do that. We got a video link in the Zoom room for Prince Charles tribute to Rabbi Sachs. Those of you that aren't in the Zoom room, you can probably Google it and get it, no problem. It's on YouTube. So we're talking about what happens and why it happens and how we're supposed to feel about how it happens. Joseph, in this week's Torah portion, what happens here, this is Genesis 44:18 to 47:27. Judah approaches Joseph to plead for the release of Benjamin, offering himself as a slave to the Egyptian ruler in Benjamin's stead. This is where Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. When he witnesses the brothers' loyalty to one another, Joseph declares, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? And his brothers are overcome by shame and remorse. But Joseph says, look, it wasn't you who sent me here. God sent me here. It was ordained. It was personal, hashgacha pratit, personal, oh, come on, what do they call it in English? Divine providence. That's what it is. Divine providence. It was divine providence. It was ordained from the above, and it was to save us from the famine that came in. So, Joseph didn't hold a grudge. He just said, brothers, look, it wasn't you. Don't you think you're going to take the credit for this? God did this. You didn't do it. I mean, you may have been the ones that actually did the thing in actuality, but you did it because of God. God did it. And he's the one that did it. Just real quick here, if you're watching on YouTube, go down to that little red thing over there. I think it's on that side down over there. Click it, sign up, click the little notification thing. Help us grow our channel, and you'll always get a notification when we come live on YouTube. And we're going to be doing more and more YouTube things. So everybody was reunited. Everybody came back in love, and everybody understood. But until the day that Jacob died, the brothers were afraid of retaliation. They thought they weren't being retaliated on because Jacob was still alive. When he passed, and we'll read it in a couple of weeks, or maybe next week. Maybe it's this week. I just haven't read the whole thing this week. That they come to Joseph and say, Dad wouldn't have wanted you guys, you'd have hurt us, or, all that kind of stuff. And he had no thought in his mind of doing it whatsoever. He accepts what happened as Ashkaha Pratit, divine providence, the slavery, the being in the pit, and everything. Now, we have every week what we call a Torah portion, a Haftorah portion, Haftarah. And this is something, if we're in a land or in a time when we cannot study Torah, what we do is we study the Haftorah, and it reminds us of the Torah portion so we can study the Torah portion. And that's the way it works out. So here's essentially what this is. Ezekiel 37:15-28. It talks about the fusion of the kingdoms of Judah and Joseph during the Messianic era. And a lot of people have heard this. A lot of people know this story, the two sticks coming together. Judah, in this Torah portion, Judah approaches Joseph. Judah, the Jews, approached Joseph to come together. Well, the prophet Ezekiel shares a prophet he got from God, which God instructs him to take two sticks and put them together. And the two sticks, one is for Judah and the children of Israel and his companions, those who were left in the land of Israel. And the other for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, the house of Israel. So now we have the children of Israel and the house of Israel, two separate things right now. And so we have the children that stayed, that's Judah. And then we have the house of Israel that was thrown out of Israel, the northern kingdom, and his companions. And he says, when you put the two together, or he says, put the two near to each other, and God brought them back to one complete unit, because that's what we are anyway. We're one complete unit. And so God tells Ezekiel they're symbolic. The house of Israel, that was divided into two warring kingdoms. The northern kingdom was established by Jeroboam, a member of the tribe of Ephraim. And the southern kingdom that remained under the Davidic dynasty rule, David's descendants. When you bring the two sticks together, it's the merging of those two sticks, the coming together, the healing of the house of Israel from that side and the kingdom of Israel on the other side. This is what's going to happen during the Messianic era. This is how you're going to know, we are going to know it's really, really happening. And during that time, the Messiah, who will be a descendant of David, is going to be at the helm of this rectified empire. He's going to be the king of Israel, another son of David. So the Lord says, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the nations where they have gone, and I will gather them from every side, and I will bring them to their land, and I will make them into one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And one king shall be to them all as a king. Now, I want to read this again, but I want to insert a couple of comments here. Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the nations where they have gone. We're talking about the family that comes from Jacob, the children of Israel, who are sons of Israel, Bnei Yisrael. And it says, I will take them and gather them from among the nations where they have gone. Like, okay, let me go into another nation. Let me leave where I am. See, that never happened. But God had, just like with Joseph, God had us moved where he wanted us to be. Just like Joseph, I know it was kind of a traumatic for Joseph in the beginning, the way he left Israel and was brought to Egypt. And then God brought him out of Egypt and brought them all together and brought them back to the land of Israel. This is exactly what's happening today. But where we went, we got sent there. We're like the messengers to the whole world. What happened? Joseph was the messenger to Egypt. He solved the problem about the coming famine, and he set up everybody so they would survive the famine. Because, I mean, let me tell you, when you got good years going on, you're not thinking about what's going to happen after that. You're not thinking, and boy, do I remember when I was young and making a whole lot of money and had all these play toys, and I never thought it would end. And then, because it did, then we went into like famine. And I didn't prepare a storehouse. I didn't have all this money in the bank when it ended. I just ended up in trouble. So it's the same thing. But God prepared the whole world. At that time was Egypt, by the way, for this particular thing by taking Joseph, bringing him to Egypt and preparing a place for Israel and for the world so they wouldn't die of famine. Now, the two sticks come together, and it ends with God giving a very big assurance. They will dwell on the land that I have given to my servant, to Jacob. And this is only one of the hundreds of times God calls Jacob, Israel, his servant. And I don't think he calls anybody else his servant, but I may be wrong. In all of the 5 books of Moses. Some people, and not in the prophecies, nowhere. He doesn't call anybody his servant, not his suffering servant, nothing. Only Jacob, only the Bnei Israel, only the children of Israel. So if he goes on to say, wherein your fathers lived, they shall dwell upon it, they and their children's children forever, and my servant David shall be their prince forever. David will be my prince forever. So anybody tries to tell you that there's some other suffering servant somewhere in the 5 books of Moses, they got it all wrong. Now, they're not lying to you on purpose. This is what they were handed down from father to son, but they're wrong. The servant, the suffering servant, it's always Jacob and the house of Jacob, Israel. But listen carefully. He says, and I will make them into one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. When you read this, we're talking about 2 different Israels here. We're talking about the children of Israel will be gathered from among the nations, from everywhere, and I will bring them to their land, the land that he gave us. And I will make them into one nation, Israel, in the land upon the mountains of Israel. And one king shall be their king. That means you have Israel the country, which I live in today. And it should be called Israel the country because that's what God calls this country. Then you have the children of Israel it is not because of where we live. It's because the bloodline we're in. We come from Jacob, which is Israel, as opposed to coming from Esau. And we were just talking about DNA before the show, and it kicked off a lot of things in my head, and that's one of the reasons I'm talking about all this. Anybody that goes and has a DNA test, that's good. But you know what it proves to you? And I'd be happy with that, knowing that it's there. It's not necessarily Jewish DNA. We call it that because it goes from Isaac and Rebekah to Jacob. But wait a minute, they had twins. So that means somebody went Isaac, Rebekah, Esau. On that side of the family, he's going to have should have the same DNA. There should be some markers that shows that we're relatives. Do you know, it goes so far as, they're solving all kinds of cold cases across America and across the world today by DNA. How are they doing it? Some grandson or great-grandson of somebody has their DNA checked. It's in a data bank, they found some DNA at a murder scene or some other crime. And every so often they run the DNA through to see if there's any kind of something came up in the databases. And all of a sudden they said, wait a minute, there's a match here between this guy, this DNA, and this DNA over here. Now, the two people may not even know each other, but they're from the same family line. And so then they start researching the family line and they find who the perpetrator was. So it's pretty amazing that they can do that. And so when you get your DNA checked and it says you have Jewish DNA, you know what? You're not sure if you're a direct descendant of Jacob or you're one of Jacob's first cousins. In other words, the descendants of Jacob, you're one of the first cousins. You come from his brother, which makes Jacob your uncle, and Esau your bloodline. And for me, and God says it in the Torah when he took us out of Egypt, when they went through the lands heading back to Israel, what did he say to the Jews? Don't mess with Edom. They're your cousins. Go around them. Don't go through their land. Don't stir them up. You don't have to. The other people, okay, you know, but these family here. Don't mess with your family. Terry, go ahead.
You're speaking of that DNA, how interesting it is. I seen a program several years ago. They found a grave site of a boy that they estimated he died when he was 13 years old. He was in early America, real early. It was like Revolutionary time and around that time period of early America. And they did, there were some hair follicles that was still left. They did a facial reconstruction on the bone with the computers and all that stuff. They did a DNA test on his hair. They found his relatives in like Boston or somewhere today. And this, like I said, this was several years ago. They had a picture of this woman who had been like a, you know, 7th, 8th, 10th cousin, however far back it goes. Cause like this boy died when he was, you know, down around the Revolutionary period. And they took her picture at his age and took the facial recognition, and they looked like brother and sister.
Wow.
And it was like on Good Morning America, something like that. It was on a news source. It was really cool. And they gave her some kind of, you know, national award or something like that of finding her and connecting her to this family back during our early American days. And I thought that was really cool, but they did it through DNA, through some strands of hair that was left in his gravesite that they found. And so I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, yes. And it also kind of shows that what I'm talking about is right. Listen to it. And don't be upset if you find out you're part of the Edomites. Don't be upset about that, because that makes you part of the family of Abraham, Isaac, and Esau instead of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It makes you part of the bloodline that God set up.
What about when Hashem says he doesn't really care for Edom? How are we to take that?
Well, he says that the sins or of the sons, well, the fathers will be followed on the sons up to 10 generations. Okay, but we know everybody pays for their own missing the mark. So why doesn't he? What's the problem with Esau? He's a dad looking at one of his sons that didn't do what he was actually created to do. He went on a different path. He went. They became the Edomites. They became the Romans and the Christians. Now, in the end, they're going to do exactly what they were supposed to do. They're going to come together. And they're going to be they're going to be the part of the Noahide side of the world, and they're going to have that closeness with God that the descendants of Ham don't have, because Ham's goes back to Noah's one of Noah's sons, and they're the Egyptians and the Africans and people like that. So, but they're going to be the leaders, and they are being the leaders. You're one of them. You're one of the leaders bring the people back where they're supposed to be, into Israel. Remember, Joseph and Esau were supposed to work to get Jacob and Esau were supposed to work together to accomplish this Messianic era, to do what's supposed to be done, to bring the whole world together. And in the end, that's what's going to get done. Some people were led off track by their relatives. Okay. Some other people joined in from other lines. But the point is that Esau and Jacob get together in the end. We become one. We become all part of Israel. But this is what God wanted when he was born, when Esau was born. But we do know that God knew this was going to happen. We know that. So there's also some divine providence here. Sometimes I wonder why he set the timeline for 6,000 years. Why wasn't it 600 years? Why is it taking 10 times longer? But that's not mine to ask, you know. But it's taken the world a long time to come around, and maybe he knew that human beings that he created needed this time to come to maturity, to be complete human beings. And I'm talking about complete human beings by the way Solomon defines a complete human being. Fearing God and doing what you were created to do, following God's commandments for you, makes you complete. And maybe the learning process for us was that long because he made us such powerful creatures that we forgot he existed for a while, at least a part of the world. So he created us for this. It's okay. And you know what? I don't know how to since I'm not in that place, I can't say a whole lot other than whether I came from Rebecca and Isaac through Jacob or through Esau. When I finally woke up and realized that's a pretty darn close relationship with the whole thing that God wanted done anyway, and that we're the principal participants in his plan. Everybody else that comes in is following us. The Hamites, the Cushites, everybody else, they're just following God's plan. But Esau and Jacob were part of the plan. The other people weren't. Think about that for a minute. That means as much as the Jews were chosen to be a light to the nations, Esau's descendants were chosen to be the receivers of that light. Anybody else that wants to join in, okay, do it, great. But you are in there where you're supposed to be. The greatest day of your life, I think, and it's my opinion, was the day you decide you're going to be who God created you to be. Because that's what he wants from every human being. And I'm certainly hoping that many, many people will understand that. You also have to understand that, okay, maybe right now the Edomites are looked at negative, just like Joseph's brothers were looked at negative, until they turned and came back to Joseph, and Joseph said, okay, I understand. It's okay. God put it up, set it up this way. And this is the way we're supposed to look at the Edomites. Exactly the way Joseph looked at his brothers. I mean, we're first cousins, we're not brothers, but still, it's an example for us to look at. It's in this week's Torah portion, for us to realize that the closeness of the relationship, and the Bnei Israel, the children of Jacob, have to learn to look at it that way too. Both sides have to learn to look at it that, hey, we're just one group of people. We came from Isaac and Rebekah. We're family. We're not supposed to be doing all this warring and going back and forth and trying to say, oh, this place has been thrown out and we've replaced that. We're not supposed to do that. And when you look at the big picture and you think about it right now, maybe your mind is battling it a little bit. Think about it a little bit. And when you read the 5 books of Moses, when you read the Chumash and you read the prophets, think about it a little bit and see how it doesn't fit together. Even to the point that God didn't want us to be mortal enemies when the children of Jacob left Egypt and marched on that line up to Canaan to take over Canaan. God said, you don't mess with them. It's okay. But it does say in the end, they're going to be judged. Who's going to be judged? The ones that don't wake up. They're going to know they were wrong. Whether they want to go along with God's plan or not, that's up to each individual. But when you become that, and we use it today, Noahide, you're coming back to the family, a family that you got disconnected from. Do you know what we call a Jew that happens to? A Jew that grows up in a family that they don't know, the family hides from them, they're Jewish. We call it a kidnapped infant. So when he comes back, that Jew comes back, it's not his fault that he doesn't know what's going on. He was kidnapped. He was taught something different. This is what happened to the Edomites. They were kidnapped, taught something different, taught don't worry about it, you're not Jewish, you're not part of Israel, is what I should say. And they were led astray. And look, this happened. I wasn't a Untitled Shabbat. I knew I was Jewish my whole life. But I walked away from it. And I made a choice to come back and get involved. And God doesn't keep it against me that I did 60-some years out there in the secular world and decided to become what we call frum, or follow Torah. And God doesn't hold it against. Why does he say that he will, families are cursed? Where does the generational curse come from? The curse comes from the father teaching the son something wrong, even though he may not know it's wrong. And then the son teaching their son, and that son teaching the next one down. And that's a generational curse. It's taught. Anybody in the family can stop it in a heartbeat by saying, wait a minute, why am I continuing this tradition? Let's take a look at what I was taught. Let's see if it makes sense. Let's stand back a minute. Any human being can do that. Any generation can do that. And it's happening right now. Like in a tsunami, it's happening. With people coming from other religions and saying, wow, this is amazing. I found the right path. So you've come back to being part of the family. The family that started with Abraham to Isaac, Rebekah, and then Esau and Jacob. And it's not, we shouldn't look at the people that came down that side of the family as black sheep, because they're not. God wanted it this way anyway. Joseph's brothers who threw him in the pit and left him there to die, and then decided to sell him to the Ishmaelites that were going to Egypt, they weren't forever called criminals, kidnappers, abductors. Even their own brother said, look, you may want to take credit for what you did, but God just used you as a tool to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish in the end. And that's what we all have to realize. He uses me as one kind of tool. He uses you as a different kind of tool. But we have to recognize where we need to be. It's so important. So hopefully everybody's understanding what I'm saying about this whole thing, because we're family. We definitely are family. When you're ready to become a part of the family, you can. Now, you may follow the teachings of somebody that follows commandments more strictly, or not so strictly. And if you learn about the house of Hillel and Shammai, you'll learn about that whole story. But they're still all right. We have sages that say it's okay to for a Noahide to do Shabbat in a certain way. And we have those that say, no, it's forbidden in any way, shape, or form. It's an interpretation, and you can do it any way you want to do it. They're both right. There's nothing wrong about either way. Because we're both saying the same thing. We're saying you don't be a Jew in your celebration of Shabbat. One's taking a strict approach and saying you can't do anything, can't even take a day off. That's what we call machmir. That's what we call the strict approach. Then we have the one that comes from Hatam Sofer, which is a different interpretation or a different understanding, not interpretation, understanding of what God said. And he's saying, yes, you can celebrate Shabbat. Why not? And so you don't celebrate it the way a Jew does, because those instructions were made for us. But you can certainly do it the way it shows in the prayer book and the Brit Olam. You can certainly celebrate some of the holidays the same way. So it isn't a war between who's right and who's wrong. Both points get us to the same exact point under the Torah, where all the family needs to be. All the family. When you have a big family reunion, and I used to love them when I was a kid. We used to have them on our land down near Silver Spring, Maryland. And people would come from the East Coast all over, and we'd have a big barbecue and all that kind of stuff. And all the cousins would come in. We had cousins from Detroit. The ones from Detroit, and that was my father's brother. He was essentially, he ran nightclubs, not the off-color type, a regular nightclub, that had a band and stuff like that. And my father ran a newspaper delivery business. My cousins grew up one way. I grew up another way. And then we had families from Baltimore, which were my dad's father's brother or brothers that were in Baltimore. One of them ended up being a Supreme Court judge in the state of Maryland, and the other ones ended up being attorneys. I mean, the family goes in many different ways, but we're all members of the same family. And if you go to anywhere in the USA and open a phone book and look for the name Sherbo in the phone book, we're all related. Some of us don't even know each other. And there was a time when we did, because there were very few, but now it becomes so prolific, the family name, we don't even know each other. But if your name is Sherbo spelt the way we spell ours, you're a part of the family. If we've never seen each other before, we're part of the same bloodline. What an amazing thing to know that. Anywhere I go in the world that I find a synagogue, they're part of my family. I don't know who they are. Never met them before in my life. I don't know where they came from, but they're part of my family. They're part of being Jewish. This is what's going to happen with you guys. You now are on the cutting edge of what's going on. Don't stop asking who's going to do the community. You guys are the community. Yeah, okay, Zoom. We got to do it this way right now. But in the areas where you live, you're going to start finding other people that are interested and want to be taught and come together, and they're going to become parts of the family also. They're parts of the family that come back together again. Just like we're finding that you guys, the Edomites, the ones that came through Esau's side of the family, you're part of our family too. It's time to come back home. It's time to be part of the family, but you only have to do what you need to do as part of the family. You don't have to do my part. Don't try to take away from me what God gave me to do. Just do what God gave you to do. It doesn't diminish who you are, not one whit. Every time you fulfill what God created you to do, you can't be any more holy. You're like a high priest. You can't grow in God's eyes greater than that. And it's talked about in the Torah and in the prophecies, that those who come back to the family, who come in, some of them will be raised up to that level, like the high priests. I see Terry's looking now. He can usually find this stuff quicker than I can. But think about this. Every single one of you listening to my voice now, you're part of the family. You're coming home to the family. Feel like you're part, even if some of the family still says, I don't know. You know, what I noticed is my family, the Sherbo family, grew and grew in the USA. Those who were professionals, doctors and attorneys, they kind of separated off a little bit from us uneducated people, us truck drivers, and well, this is just normal. They feel like, well, you don't have the education to talk on the level I talk or something. Judging. But that's the world we grew up in. There's nothing we can do about it. Okay, I think I said what I got to say, said my piece. Scotty, you want to take the mic?
Well, I just want to ask you, I think Terry, I can see his right eye quivering. He's got something he's wanting to throw in here, maybe. Just for a clarification, you said that part beautifully, but I just want to see if I can put it into terminology and have you. For me, being, if we want to call it B'nai Noach, righteous of the nations, for me, wanting to just stay that way, that principle, to observe my 7, to be there, and that's great, isn't it? I mean, isn't that just for me? I'm fine right where I'm at. I don't have to, and I'm not meaning anything bad to those that want to convert, those that want to do more, that's good. But for me, it's okay for me to want to do that, right?
Absolutely. It's okay to be who God created you to be. It's that simple. You don't have to try to be somebody else. If God wanted you to be born Jewish, you'd have been born Jewish. That's the way he works. But you weren't born that way, and you were born an evangelist, and you were born throwing tent meetings. Well, guess what you're going to do all over again, but for a different direction. You know, and that's, God trains us up to be used for his purpose. And he wants us, look, that you are satisfied to be what God wants you to be, and don't think that you have to aspire to be like somebody else to be better, is the greatest thing you could possibly think. You don't need to be Jewish. You don't have to do all the stuff, the 613, or even parts of it if you don't want. And guess what? It gives people more peace of mind to accomplish what God wants accomplished. Absolutely.
Okay, I got to go in this a little further because you just sparked something in me.
Okay.
In my past life, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
My past life. You know, when you go to church, you always got these people that's very spiritual, and they push that point, and they make those that's not very spiritual feel incomplete. And I feel that sometimes when people come out of their past life into this walk of the B'nai Noach, the righteous of the nations, sometimes they still feel that incompleteness. And that's why they search for so much outside of the basic. They want to replace that. You know what I'm talking? Am I saying that correctly?
You're saying it beautifully. Yes. And I understand what you're saying. They were taught to do a certain thing. They were taught to feel a certain way. And when you leave it and you put it aside and you miss that feeling. Spiritual feeling is a great thing, to feel that spiritual connection. But you allowed others to define for you what it's supposed to be, and not God to define for you. Once you make that connection with God, he's going to show you what he wants from you. And you want to go and have that spiritual connection. It's not by doing stuff anyway. It's the way you think. So believe it or not, Scotty, you're just as spiritual as anybody else. And I think you know that. And people say they don't want to be spiritual. They really are. They might say, I'm not a spiritual person. Well, gosh darn, you got a connection with God, you're spiritual. Because you're able to see through the veil, see through the hiding that he's done, hiding himself here on this earth, and connect with him. That makes you spiritual. It lifts you up to a different level. But don't try to manufacture what you think is spiritual. And I'm not saying you, Scotty, because I know where you are, but as individuals, don't try to lift yourself up to a place where you can only disappoint yourself, nobody else. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. And then you find out you can't do it. And then it makes you feel bad. Not can't because you're not allowed, which in some cases you're not, but can't because you cannot do it. Like if I was go try to lift up the rear end of my Ford, I can't do it. I may want to do it all I want, but I'll never accomplish it. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get a jack out and get it part of the way up. Now let me see if I can lift it some more. Now, you think I'm giving you a silly example? Don't even think that, because this is what we do mentally all the time, folks. We do this mentally all the time. We make ourselves feel bad this way. We do it to ourselves. Of course, it can come from a comment somebody makes or something like that, but we end up doing it to ourselves. Don't do it. Just be who you're supposed to be. That's the most important thing anybody could ever hope to attain, being who they're supposed to be. The snake told Eve, and I say this all the time, the snake said, just be who God created you to be. Well, snake only knew what he was created to be. He didn't know what Eve was created to be. So he's taking his own standards and applying it to Eve. Well, it doesn't work for me to apply my standards to somebody else. And it didn't work for the snake either. It didn't work for Eve either. We just got to be who God created us to be. And that's the hardest thing in the world to accept, because we're always looking at other people. I want to be like this. I'm going to be like that, or that person's not like they're supposed to be. We got to get off of that horse. Go ahead, Scotty.
No, I just got to say that was beautiful. That was beautiful the way you put that. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you. Terry, is your eye quivering? No.
All right, Scotty. You got over an eye thing. I forgot I was going to wear my new shirt my daughter got me for tonight for my birthday, and I forgot to.
Oh, well, you can do it next week.
Did you see?
Yeah. Captain Dad.
Captain Dad says from the previous generation. Oh, she knows. I think my last birthday, that 2 years ago, she got me some stuff similar to that. As you know, I studied for conversion almost 7 years and was in the process of moving to a Jewish community to go to the next level in my conversion process. And during that time of getting ready to move, getting a house up and ready for sale, in my meditations and prayers one day, I was directed toward, or however you want to put it, I felt like I was directed there. Psalm 62. Only for God does my soul wait in silence, and for him alone comes my salvation. Only he is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. Only for God wait silently my soul. From him is my hope. Only he is my rock, my salvation, my stronghold, and I will not falter. Upon God is my salvation and my honor, the rock of my strength. My refuge is in God alone. And as I read that, I contemplated my path, and I asked a question. When you're studying for conversion, you're always being asked by others and asking yourself, why are you converting? A Rebbetzin in Atlanta used to ask my wife and I, why do you want to become part of the 1%? That was her question all the time to us at a shul there we were attending. But when I came to that, I asked myself a question that hadn't come to myself in 7 years. And it was part of this was the leading part of the reason why I chose not to convert. The question in my mind is, if God is my rock, my salvation, my honor, my strength, my stronghold, what would conversion do to change that? What would it do to add to that? If he was already my stronghold, my salvation, my honor, my rock, what would conversion add to that to improve any more to that than what was already there? And then it put me to, thinking about that. And then for me, the answer was, it would add more mitzvot. It would do that because I did be more than one. And so as you're talking about be who you are, if God is your rock, what can you add to that? What can you do? What extra mitzvot beyond, if you're a non-Jew, what extra mitzvot beyond the 7 Sheva mitzvos b'nei Noach, what more would that do for you? Would that make God any more your rock than what he already is? How can you do that? That was the question for me, that the reason why I chose not to convert and be who I was created to be.
Good answer. Good answer. And if enough people give their version of that answer, it's going to be said so that everyone will start to understand what's being said. When I give an answer to a question, when you do, when Scotty does, not everybody understands exactly what we're talking about, because we may not say it exactly the way that person has the capability of understanding it. Not that they're not capable of, but it's a communication thing. So it's important that they hear it as much as possible. It's important that we talk about it as much as possible in front of people. I don't mean go out and evangelize. I mean, the day's going to come for that, by the way. The day's going to come for that, where so many people are going to come knocking on the door. We're going to start having big meetings in different cities around America. It's going to happen. So
I'm pointing at Scotty because that is happening for him.
Yeah, I know. I know that God brought Scotty into our presence for a reason, and it's going to happen. He's going to hold meetings. He's going to be telling people the truth. And Scotty, you got a way of making it simple for people so they can understand it. And it's better to hear from someone like you that's been there, done that, and like Terry that's been there, done that, than it is to hear it from me preaching at him. Although, in a way, I've been there, done that, and made my decision to come back where I belong. And, you guys might not know this, so I'm just going to mention it. A person like me, what we call a Baal Tshuva, someone that came back to doing the 613, is considered among the circles holier than a righteous person. Why? Because we saw out there, we threw away the 613, we threw away our heritage, which was stupid. But then we made a decision to come back to the truth. I made a decision personally in my life. Two things I loved most to eat, to give up: barbecue spare ribs and Chesapeake Bay blue crabs. And say, yeah, they're great food, but God didn't make me to eat that food. And I had to make a conscious decision and walk away. I had to make a decision to put on the clothes I wear and to be modest. I had to make a decision to choose what movies I'm going to watch. Someone that grows up that way, they don't even know what it is to taste the other stuff. They have no idea. They don't know the battle it takes. They don't understand that when you drive by a roadside stand like down in the Carolinas or in Tennessee, where they're doing the barbecue in the shack on the side of the road, and you smell it 3 miles coming down the road, and your mouth starts watering because you know what it tastes like. And you know you can pull over and stop and buy. Who's going to see me out in the middle of nowhere? But you make the decision, God sees me. That's a tough decision to make. There's jokes about it in amongst Jewish people, about Jewish people being in a town they've never been in before and going to a seafood restaurant and stuff like that. And they get caught. Somebody happens to be there that might know them from where they came from or something. And the answer is usually, well, I didn't think anybody's going to notice me. They don't think, well, hey, God's watching anyway. So, and we joke about it amongst the people. When you've been there, done that, and you have overcome, those are the stories people want to hear. Those are the people that people want to learn from. That gives people strength. Like every one of you, everyone hearing this, every one of you out there that are not Jewish, that are from the other 99.9% of the world or 0.8% of the world, that are making the conscious decision to come back home. What a wonderful, wonderful thing. And they want to see how you did it. Some of them will argue to death, talk your ear off. It's up to you whether you want to continue with that kind of teaching or not. Their debates and stuff. I suggest not to. They'll come to it someday. They'll see it. Anybody have anything else they want to say? Put your hand up, make a comment. Before we leave, look down. Where is it? Over here, little button. If you're watching, little red subscribe button, click the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. You'll always, not only on Facebook, but also on YouTube, you'll get notices when it comes out. New things. There's a lot of stuff up there. Shira has a lot of teachings on the same channel. So learn to use the Torah for the Nations channel on Facebook, please. Just click it and subscribe. Do it now. Don't forget. You can do it while we're talking. Just hit subscribe button. All right. Let's do a little promotion. Tony, you still here?
Yes, I am.
No, okie dokie. Hey, looking good. Oh, I love your chapeau. Love your hat. You want to tell us about the prayer meetings?
Oh, let's see. It's Saturday morning. It's 9 a.m. in Arizona. That would be
11
a.m.
East, 11 Eastern.
11 Eastern. I think that makes it, 6 p.m. Israel for those that go off the Israel time.
Right. 6 p.m. Israel. I think it's 8 Pacific Coast time.
Yeah. And we're just reading the Shabbat from the Brit Olam, and followed by the weekly Torah portion. Rabbi Goldberg's been able to drop in and give his part, and we finish up with that. And it's just that. And so it's been good so far.
Great.
bigger than what I thought.
I think it's going to get a lot bigger, and I'm go ahead.
Well, here, where this came from was this, Cole's been going to, his Chabad house for years, and he just recently moved away, and he's like 30 miles away, so he doesn't get to get down there very often. I had the opportunity to go up to Prescott, which is an hour away from me, and it was cool. It was nice. I enjoyed it, but again, I'm not a Hebrew speaker, so trying to follow along the transliteration is kind of a thing. And I said to Cole, you should do this online. Do you think anybody else would be interested in doing this in English? And so off it went. We talked to Rabbi Goldberg, and we put it together, and there we are.
I suggest that everybody stop in. It's really good. Ain't no sermonizing there. We're praying and reading the prayers, and it's from, I'm going to show the book again. Brit Olam. It's available on Amazon. It's available in a lot of places, and you pray right out of the prayer book, everybody together, and then Rabbi Goldberg comes and gives an explanation of the Torah portion, and it's just a great community experience. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to show you how to form your community. This Zoom over the internet, people from around the world coming together, hopefully is going to translate to your individual cities. It's going to help you know that when you go to your city and you do your thing, you're doing the same thing that somebody's doing in Arizona, in Washington State, in Bangladesh. Everybody's doing the same thing, just like how the Jews do it. It's a question of unity, folks. That's the way we need it to be. And you guys are in charge. Alabama, okay? Alabama. All right. Let's see. Now we're going to get a plug for Scotty and Terry. Each one's pointing at the other one. Go ahead, Terry.
Yes, that's just how we work. Oh, Sacred Odyssey videocast. We have a few videos up. Probably sometime after the first year, we're going to kick back in. Well, let me just say what we discussed a while ago was with what's going on with Scotty. Scotty's being contacted by a whole slew of pastors and Christian teachers and leaders asking questions. And we've started doing videos. Our largest audience are the Christians, and especially the Christian leaders and pastors that we are beginning to teach the Hebrew scriptures to. After sometime around the first of the year, we hope to kick in. We're bouncing back and forth. We may start in Genesis 1:1. We've got some, because Scotty's videos, he's hinted at the 7 laws for a long time. They're asking what they are. So we may start there, but we are discussing, we are going to be teaching Genesis. He's telling people we're going to start teaching Genesis and what the text says, what we can learn. What does Hashem want us to learn from those texts? And it's really exciting. We've started a small Facebook group that's got some of these guys in there. And I've been posting this last week. I started posting quotes from Chavetz Chaim, Lesson in Truth, Daily Studies in Honesty. And we have some in there that are sharing those on their Facebook pages and different things. So we're just taking it easy. We're going the education route. We're not bashing anyone's religion. We're educating. And that's we're teachers. Both of us are teacher preachers, and that's the direction that we're taking it. And it's a Sacred Odyssey videocast on YouTube. And you have to put in videocaster. You'll find all kinds of videos for a video game called Sacred Odyssey. So it's Sacred Odyssey videocast.
Sacred Odyssey videocast.
You got Scotty?
No.
I want to throw in a couple more avenues we have putting together. We also have one video on Sacred Odyssey Videocast, an intellectual and spiritual quest. Thought I'd throw that in. A Simple Walk. And that's that other Facebook page that Terry's talking about, A Simple Walk. And we kind of, Terry does most of the sharing in that here lately, and it's been very powerful. And I see people, one pastor in particular that I know of, he's not sharing the link, he's copying it and pasting it, which it doesn't matter how he gets it out, as long as he gets it out and it's sparking interest. And I'm in the process of trying to build some podcastings, try to take whatever we teach together and bring it down into a 15, 20-minute podcast. And so everybody be thinking about those.
Okay, I have one question for you. The guys that are copying and pasting, which is okay, are they giving you the credit for bringing the teaching forward, or are they putting it forward as their own teaching?
No, what they're doing is Terry is actually putting in down there exactly where he got it from. And then when they repost it, they're just reposting from a Facebook friend, but they include that information where Terry got it from. Isn't that right, Terry? You put down the bottom the book he got it from, and they're including that in their repost. At
the bottom of because I don't type out exactly everything. Sometimes I'll take 2 days and combine them into one because they're the same kind of topic. I put in there quoted and adapted from Hafiz Chaim Lesson in Truth, Daily Studies in Honesty. And so that's at the bottom of every one of those because I won't give credit to the book I'm getting it from.
Yeah. Okay.
So if they start researching that, ooh, and it's dealing on falsehood, and deceit, and it's some really interesting stuff I don't think some people think about.
Yeah, it's true. But and I'm going to say this for anybody who wants to hear it. When you receive something in a teaching, you do right. You put it in the book, Hafiz Chaim, and where you got it. But if you're taking it from something that somebody else has brought to your attention, like Scotty, if you put something up, or Terry, you put something up, people just copy and paste it. What they're saying to people is, look what I found. And here's the book. But they got to give a little credit to the person that pointed them in the right direction, too. It's more, and I've dealt with this a lot of times with people in Christianity. They're taking credit for something like, hey, look what I've been studying this and look what I found. And it's you're not supposed to do that, because it doesn't start with the I. Now, you picked up the book, you started reading it, you started sharing it. Okay. Maybe you didn't you didn't have a teacher in it, but you're reading it, you're sharing it. Excuse me, it's part of the process of being honest. That's all it is. It's just part of the process of being honest.
Hopefully we'll get to bring all this to their attention as we start delving in a little deeper into it with them. So hopefully we can bring that to them.
Yeah, when they do this, it's and I know this only because I know people in Christian ministries. They don't want it to come back to Israel and the Jews. It's got to be Christian. So they figure if they put it up and they don't give any credit, everything stays Christian, but it doesn't. You can't. The truth comes not from them. It comes from the Torah and the words and the Jews and so forth. I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but see, this is what happened back then. They started quoting things and doing things without giving credit where it came from and the credit for the truth. And look how it's led us over the last 2,000 years. And it's just a habit. Everybody thinks it's okay to do it, but it's not. But then again, that's just another one of the things you learn that it's not okay to do. I never talk about anything here that I don't give credit to who I get it from. And a lot of things that come out of my mouth, unfortunately, it comes from a combination of a lot of different knowledge I get And I could be wrong in some of the stuff. Karen says, and let's see, her husband was there. Harold said hi to us, and it said it's an exciting time to be here. Such a journey we're all on, Baruch Hashem, and it is. It's an exciting journey. We don't have to let the COVID throw us off track or anything else throw us off track. I want to remind everybody, click the like button, click the subscribe button, so that that you will sign up for Torah for the Nations, and Torah for the Nations Women's Group also goes through the same channel. Let's see, there was something else I wanted to say that went right out of my head. Go ahead, Terry.
Oh, also, my blog that I write, emunatrek.com, is my personal blog.
Oh, and it's good. You ought to make sure you go there.
I'm working on a new one there as part of a series that I've started, and so I'm working on my next one.
Very good. Looking forward to reading it. I love Terry's way with words. That's how we got to know each other, by the way. I read one of his blogs and I immediately contacted him. And that's why we're working together. And Scotty, the guys are just, anyway, I love it. Now, one more thing. If anybody wants to have a weekly or every 2 weeks or once a month meeting with me or with me and my wife, get a hold of us and we can set up a time that's convenient for people to get together. If it's just, you or you and your wife or husband, or maybe a couple of couples. It can be one person or it can be 10. I don't care. We're doing things now in America, in Austria, and Lithuania, and we'll be more than happy to do it with you. And it's also a way you can bring people that have questions. We can kind of talk one-on-one. There's things we can't talk about in this room. It gets a little more personal, and we can talk personally. And I have couples I meet with every single week that bring questions, and we talk about, and it's things that affects their lives personally. So I don't record them. I don't put them up on anything. We just I open a little Zoom room and we just discuss things with no recording or anything. So that being said, and I don't see any hands up, nobody's saying anything else right now. I want to say, God bless you guys. Have a great rest of the week. I know it sounds silly, but I love you guys. You're part of the family. And the more we get together and the more we get to learn about each other, the closer we get. And the community is important. The community of Noahides is important to have that. It's also the community of Jews is important to have that. But them all coming together as a community is just as important. That's what the Messianic times are all about. Let's do it now. What are we waiting for? Let's get that community together. Let's do that and let's get together. Nina, thank you for your comment. I want to say on I guess I was on YouTube, right? Samuel Stidham. Hey, how you doing, Samuel? Okay, guys, I'm out of here. The best way to contact me is through my Facebook page, Pesach Sherbo. And that's the best way to contact me. And then we can go into different things. We can have telephones, over Facebook or whatever. All right. Make sure you try to get by and join the community prayer on Shabbat. It's a way of honoring God on Shabbat. We're supposed to remember him on Shabbat. You guys are, and it's just a part of take an hour and a half out of your day, stop everything, slow down, and stand in front of him one-on-one, connected, but together with a group of people. Even though you may be in a group and it may be in Zoom room and it's over the internet, it still comes down to it's you and him. I might be in a synagogue with 100 people, but it's still me and God. But the power of all of you coming together adds power to what you're doing. The power feeds from one to the other. Go ahead, Terry.
just like the Jewish Siddur prayer book, when you look at the prayers of Brit Olam, you're not going to find an I and a me. It's communal. It's a communal prayer, not an individual prayer that comes together. And one of the things I learned when I was studying for conversion, how important the communal prayer is by removing the I and putting we and us in there. Let's say someone is kind of down. Maybe they've had a hard week or they've had some hard situations. They've had, a tough, life can be tough sometimes. But here you've come to communal prayer and you're down and you're with those that are up. Things are great. They take your prayers, the same prayers, and they help your prayers reach the throne when you may not be able to do it by yourself, but when you come together as a team, the team wins and your prayers goes together as a team and not as an individual. I just kind of wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that up. And so don't forget Wednesday evening at 8:00 New York time. New York is USA and Canada, East Coast time, 8:00. We're here again for a meeting. It's not as late during the week. And we invite you all to come back, tell people about us, bring your friends, send them to the channel, subscribe. Don't forget, there's a button. Oh, always get it backwards. Right over there. There's a button to subscribe. Subscribe. I don't have one of these things that jumps out at you and says, oh, do this and ring the bell like the other ones do, but I may put it up there. We want to get 1,000 subscribers sometime in the next year. So everybody just please make sure you hit the subscribe button. All right. God bless you all. For everybody. See y'all Wednesday, USA time.